Hey, welcome to the first of what we hope is a lot of these conversations on the more fluid basis. RSG's always tried to be a thought leader in our space, and we're really excited to launch these new video series to kind of address that. I think, as some of you may know, I'm Steve Scott. I'm the founder and CEO of RSG, and I'm really looking forward to try and be a big part of these ongoing conversations. And I'm joined today with Kevin Delaney, who's our Vice President of Business Development. Kevin?
How's everybody doing today? Glad to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, our topic du jour is going to be one that I think many of your inboxes are struggling to keep up with, which is Secure Act 2.0. And I'll turn it over to you because I think you're going to drive this discussion, because I'll get us down a rabbit hole quickly. So
Secure Act 2.0, yeah. It's been a buzzword since the end of December. For those of you that may not be aware, it was passed by legislation December 28th, 29th, I believe.
29th, I think, yeah.
And, it came fast and furious, and now all of a sudden, like Steve said, the emails, webinars, we're getting inundated on the 401k world for educational information on what it is, what to do about it. And so today we just wanted to break it down for everybody out there, because there's a lot of moving parts. There's a huge law. And I think that's the conundrum we're all in. What do we focus on? What do we need to worry about right now? And a lot of people are confused. So wanted to bring that to all of you, so that way you knew what to focus on right now and what to focus on soon. So with that, Secure Act. We have a lot of, how many provisions were in the Secure Act?
92.
92. Do we need to focus on all 92 right now, Steve?
My ADD will not let me focus on 92 of anything these days.
So I guess the big question is, it's passed. There's a lot of information out there. What do we need to focus on right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've always tried to say that the approach that I've taken as a consultant in this space for shockingly almost 30 decades now is to keep things simple, bring some plain speak to the conversation, if you could, about what these complicated legislations mean to a business owner. At the end of the day, our job is to help people make informed business decisions, period. Mm-hmm. Right? And to your point, there are certain things that you need to be aware of, but you don't really need to do anything for. The credits are the credits. Mm-hmm. And for many people listening to this today, you probably already have a plan because you're engaged in the process. So some of those don't matter to you, but there are new credits for auto enrollment and other auto features that you should be maybe aware of. The required minimum distribution age has been pushed back. The force outs went from 5,000 to 7,000, right? Those are things that are just happening. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing you need to do, but awareness is a good thing to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Now, I don't want to steal any of your thunder, but I think the more complicated part of it is what's coming. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean to your business and your decision-making process down the road?
And so, for the purpose of the law, in 2023, what do plan sponsors and participants need to be aware of right now?
Well, some of the provisions I mentioned earlier, like I said, RMDs being pushed back may affect some folks out there. If you haven't started a plan yet, there's never a better time, because the credits have just been expanded to up to, if you're less than 50 lives, it's 100% up to 5,000. So basically you can start up the plan for free, which is great. And clearly they're enticing you to do just that. That's what it's for. I mentioned the auto features and the expansion of the required minimum distribution, not the required minimum distribution, sorry about that. The expansion of the force outs from 5,000 to 7,000. Again, those are provisions that you don't really need to take action for.
Right.
They're there, right? I think that's going to then get us to the next point, which is, okay, well, so what should a business owner be thinking about now? Mm-hmm. And to me, it's the stuff that's coming in 24 and 25, which really, in my opinion, is around two major concepts. And I'm specifically talking about Secure Act 2.0 right now, which is Rothification, patent pending, and number two, what I call benefit expansion. And what I mean by that, and that may not be the best phrase, forever, 401k is retirements. I mean, that's what people think of. I think 401k retirement plan. Well, now there's these provisions for emergency savings.
Yeah.
And there's a provision for student loan debt. And if you think about that and take yourself out for a second and say, what is that really saying? It's saying that the government believes the 401k should evolve. And I think this is just the beginning. From a retirement vehicle to a financial wellness vehicle. And that philosophically will change the way we have to communicate, manage, and really just think about the 401k benefit that's in so many different plans.
Okay. So Steve, I've been thinking these days about this Secure Act that happened in December and what people need to focus on. And it seems as though there's so many moving parts to the law. Some people are calling and asking questions, hey, what do I need to worry about right now? And to me, when I think about it, it seems as though it's being aware of what you need to do today and being aware of what you need to do in the future, right? So in terms of what we need to be aware of today, what would you say are the three main things that a plan sponsor or plan administrator needs to be aware of in their plan that exists right now?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Number one, first off, there's a bunch of these little changes that are going to happen automatically. There's nothing really you need to do, but the rules around the game are changing on RMDs and on credits for people looking to either expand or start a plan, and even the force out provisions, right? Those things are happening.
Yep.
So it's just a general awareness is always a good thing. So to me, that's number one. Number two is to kind of slow down. Anytime we have massive legislation, what usually happens is your inbox gets flooded because it's a new big thing, and there's a lot of webinars and there's a lot of discussion. But the fact is, we have almost zero guidance right now from the IRS, from the Department of Labor. It's brand new. Some people are arguing there's some conflicts in the rules. So I think part of it too is know that you don't need to make all these decisions today. And then my third point would be, but make sure you're having the right dialogue and the right conversations with the right people.
The right people, right.
So that you can start thinking, because I do think you're going to need to make some significant strategic decisions for 24 and 25.
So I'm curious, who do you think, if you were to put it in a box, who are the right people, to talk to about this, right? Is it record keepers? Is it consultants? Is it your advisor?
It's us.
It's us. Okay.
It's almost always us.
Plug, sorry.
Yeah, no. But seriously, I think the point is it's usually a specialist, whether that's you have a consultant like RSG that you like and value and work with, if you have a different, but somebody who's a true specialist in the space. I think that's the key is that you get it. Listen, the attorneys are going to be great and they're going to talk and they're going to give details. The record keepers are going to give you updates, but they're never going to have an opinion because they want to avoid any kind of a liability thing.
Sure.
I think ultimately at the end of the day, you need to have some business consultant, TPA, plan consultant, etc., who can help guide you through the decision-making process. Because again, there's not a ton of decisions you need to make in 23, but there's a ton of decisions you'll need to make at the end of 23 into 24 for 24 and 25.
Right.
So the point is to have the right players in place to have that dialogue.
Sure.
Is kind of key.
One thing that you said that makes me think all the time, the importance of a specialist as it relates to Secure Act 2.0, right? I think we've always valued being a specialist out there in the community and projecting that for everybody. But how is that more important today than it was before Secure Act 2.0 in your opinion?
Well, my short answer is I think things are going to get more complicated. And let me pose it back to you. You do more employee direct engagement at the participant level than I do these days. Do participants always get it? Or are they still at the end of the day is the idea of going through an enrollment process, deciding how much to save, deciding what's pre-tax and what's Roth and what funds to put into, already still a fairly complicated process to a lot of people.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
It's a complicated process, but now if you layer in some of the other parts of the law with regards to, the emergency savings account or the student loan repayment, how do I get to my 401k when I have to decide on these other two new factors before I can even invest in my 401k? Because maybe I have student loans, maybe I don't have an emergency savings account. So what do I do first? Do I go to the emergency savings account? Do I pay off my student loans first? Oh yeah, I still need to save for my 401k.
Yeah.
In what process? Like, what's the outcome? How do you go about it?
You just nailed it, and I think that's one of the points there is that none of these are bad ideas. Right? Like there is a student debt crisis and emergency savings is great because it creates all these other positive outcomes from behavioral finance, blah, blah, blah. But you nailed it. It's going to make a process that many people already feel overwhelmed with more overwhelming at a participant level. And then let's layer onto that the small business owner perspective of, okay, John Doe or Jane Roe, who runs payroll, already says this is kind of complicated. Well, what if we start to add all these new money types?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so now let me get this straight. A participant is saving $100 and 33 is going to a student loan debt, which is being paid over here.
Yep.
We're still not sure if the record keeper is doing that, if you need to do anything. We're not really sure how it's flowing, but somehow theoretically they put that in. Another $33 goes to emergency savings, and then $34 is going to the 401k, but I'm matching on 100.
Sure.
Right? Listen, it might all flow wonderfully and be smooth, but the question of how much is going to fall on the plan sponsor's administrative team,
right.
How much is the record keeper going to be able to handle, how much more are TPA and consulting groups like ours going to have to help support, are all unknowns.
Sure.